Welcome back to the final whistle for your Saturday night match preview. Leicester City take on AFC Bournemouth this weekend at the Vitality Stadium. The last game of the season, and I think it'd just be a relief to get this season out of the way. Ruud van Nistelrooy's final game in charge? Question mark. There's been very much spoken about his future this week. He said he's not heard anything regarding from the club, but he's found out the way of the media, and how disrespectful is that is another thing. I'm going to discuss it with Craig from Up the Cherries in all departments. We're going to chat about AFC Bournemouth under Areola, and we're going to discuss everything regarding both sides. Obviously, Leicester's not got the greatest bloody record going to Bournemouth, have they, in bloody league sort of notice. Obviously, I think our last win at the Vitality was when Kevin Phillips scored, which Bournemouth claimed it wasn't over the line. But Kevin Phillips, did he care? No, he didn't. But, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, let's take it on then. Kyle, how are we? Hope you're well. A Saturday stream. Nice evening, Jack. Yeah, I'm off to Bournemouth tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to it. Good evening, Jack. Hope you're well, mate. I'm good, thank you. Watched the press conference yesterday, and Ruud was hung out to dry. He has been bad, but he deserves better than this. Exactly that. Exactly that, Tony. He deserves better. He deserves more respect. Whatever you think about Ruud van Nistelrooy this season, how bad things have gone, his tactics, whatever, he deserves better to know what is happening with his future in the club. Have gave him the cold shoulder regarding everything, you know, just like the fans. The fans don't know anything. There's just no communication. And what do we expect? Door on tour. How are we? I mean, we could do something tomorrow, mate, what you lot couldn't do at the Vitality. I believe you let 5 past you, mate, but we're not going to talk about that. Why sack him now? Typically, he's now doing well. The thing is, you can't judge him on Ipswich, Southampton and Nottingham Forest. You physically can't. You judge a manager on a whole season. You can't judge him because we're relegated. Do you know what I mean? We've already been relegated, so it's not going to make a difference. Big up. How are we? Sat Ruud ASAP. Yeah, he's going to go, isn't he? But I think it's a harsh way of how the club's treated him to getting him out of the club regarding them not telling him and him finding out elsewhere. So let's get in Craig then from Up the Cherries in all departments. Craig, how are we?
Yeah, all good, Jack. And thank you for having me back on for what is probably a bit of a dead rubber now.
Well, yeah, it's a dead rubber. End to the season game. Nothing to play for both sides. Obviously, Areola is doing a fantastic job at Bournemouth. Ruud van Nistelrooy looks very much like he's going to lose his job at Leicester City after this game. So a bit of different sides to the scale now. Obviously, Bournemouth look to really strengthen upon, obviously, next season. Leicester will be playing championship football again next season. So, yeah, 2 different sides of the coin for both sides. One on the up, one very much on the downward spiral. So, Craig, evening anyway. Let everybody know where they can find you, mate, and what you do at Up the Cherries in all departments.
So, yep, the channel is Up the Cherries in all departments. You can find us on the handle UTCIAD AFCB. We do our cherry picking show. That comes every Thursday. We've got loads of content coming up through the summer. Have lots of special guests on there, including famous Leicester fans, David Icke, and of course Tom Meehan as well. Chris might not appreciate me saying famous ones. He's famous himself, but but yeah, lovely to be on again, Jack, and thank you so much for inviting me.
That's fantastic. Craig, before we get on to we'll call it a big game to the end of the season. We might as well call it that, innit? You know, we might as well look like we're actually got something to play for, you know.
Yes.
Let's chat about Bournemouth's season. I mean,
it.
it's been a very good season. I
Yes.
mean, talk to me how things have gone under Areola.
Well, he's done a fantastic job this year. Now, I think there is probably a 3 to 5 year plan that Bill Foley's got in his head.
Yeah.
Part of that is European qualification, and at one point it even looked like we was going to get European qualification, if not the biggest prize of all, the Champions League. Yes, it has faltered at points as well, especially after that defeat at home to Wolves in the Premier League. But we should be happy with, how this season has panned out. I got to be honest, I did say at one point, and I stand by this, that I think European football was a necessity.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is the likes of Dean Howson. Dean Howson's already accepted a move to Real Madrid. Nobody can begrudge him that. Biggest club in the world. You know, the two clubs, AFC Bournemouth and Real Madrid, are not comparable at all.
No.
But you're looking at the likes of Milos Kerkez, Antoine Semenyo.
The players that I'd take in my team, Craig, to be honest, mate, but I'm sure that's obviously not going to be the case.
Yeah, it's Zabania, has been linked with Man City. Kerkez, of course, Liverpool and Man City now. Semenyo, Newcastle. Justin Kluivert has been linked with numerous places, albeit I did speak to somebody when I went over to Amsterdam, did a tour of the Amsterdam Arena, or I should call it the Johan Cruyff Arena, in memory of the great man. But, their view was that he left Ajax too young and couldn't find his feet. And now he's found his feet. He should stay at Bournemouth for a prolonged period. So, in my honest opinion, it's been a very, very good season, but I'm worried that the vultures are definitely circling. And the biggest loss of all would be Andoni Iraola himself. He's been linked to Tottenham. He's been linked to Arsenal. If they get rid of Arteta, there was a link there that was mentioned. He was linked with Real Madrid actually at one point. So there's been lots of links to take, for Iraola. I know Bill Foley has been over. He's been negotiating terms. I'm hoping tomorrow before the game we get some good news, and we're told that he will be staying at the club. But I'm a little bit worried. He's got a season left after this. I'm a little bit worried because he won't leave mid-season. He doesn't join clubs mid-season. He's a little bit like Marcelo Bielsa in that way. And of course, we're coming to the off-season now. And if he's not signed an extension, what could it potentially mean? Could he be waiting to think, right, okay, how many players does the club sell to if I need to make my move? Because he's done a good done a good build of this side. He's got them playing how he wants them to. There was doubt in my head going back to the 3-0 defeat at Goodison Park last season whether or not we had the personnel. Didn't question his tactics, but the personnel to play his style. He's since proven that wrong. He's modified these players who were already here into that system. And to have to do that all again could be a very, very difficult job.
I think how you mention these big teams off the roll of your tongue, who's after your players, it shows how good of a job Bournemouth have done this season, how great performing these players have done. Your Kerkez, Semenyos, your Kluiverts. Is it Ed Milson, is it? The striker?
Evan Nilsson, yeah. Evan Nilsson.
Evan Nilsson, yeah. it shows how good Areola's done with these players. You know how good he's got them. He's got them from here to here, and it's like,
Yes.
okay, then the potential showed with how good they are. I mean, Kirkes is one of the best fullbacks in the league this season. I think he's been fantastic.
I
From
think
what
he's the
I've
best
watched.
left back.
Clivert, fantastic, you know, the way he just picks up that ball, he drives, he can just pick out that shot from distance, scored many good goals, you know, the manager's got them playing the way he wants them to, that's what you always like to see from a manager, getting the players on board, finding a system that fits the players well and bringing in the right players that does fit that system as well as the current players that you've already got. That's something that Leicester haven't done. This is the flip of the coin with Leicester. We haven't found the right players. You've gone for quality rather than quantity. Do you get what I mean? We've just gone to just fill the numbers up and gone for experience over quality. You've brought in some good potential players and you've looked at them this season and thought, you know what? These can go on to bigger and better things. You look at the guy who's going to be joining Real Madrid, how good he's been this season. You guys have got a good sort of format to build on. Something to really push on next season. And I think Bournemouth will do that. If they can keep the manager and all these good players that you roll off being linked with other clubs, you just need to add a few more players to that squad. And I think you'll be on the up. You know, it shows how good the blueprint is at Bournemouth. I mean, I talked about Brighton, how good they've been, Brentford, you know, teams that you think, you know what? Wow, these teams are competing for Europe from where they've actually been, Craig, years ago, you know, competing in League Two and places like that. And you think, look at the rise of them, you know. And it's fantastic to see a club like Bournemouth rising to the top, you know, because people just look at Man City's players, Arsenal, Man United, you know, they'll just mention the big players' names. But then you look at Bournemouth's players, Brentford, Brighton, what Nottingham Forest are building. There's a lot of good teams are up there and they're competing now. And it's good to see. And this is where the gulf now sits between the Premier League and the Championship. And it's massive because the quality's there.
Yeah, most definitely. And as you say, Brentford, Brighton, they're two teams that we were playing in the lower levels. Of course, Nottingham Forest dropped down to League One at one point as well and played us there. You know, there has been numerous teams as well that have, you know, been competing, you know, not just, you know, this season, but also in the past couple of years as well, who, you know, like Ipswich have Ipswich have gone straight back down, but you know the thing is it shows that there is that gulf. There is that gulf that the bottom three have gone down. The three that were promoted have gone straight back down. If you get me right.
Like last season, the same thing happened again.
Yeah, exactly. But what we have got and what Brentford have got and Brighton have got and
Build
Fulham
the
have got
foundations.
is we're buying sensibly. So what we're doing is we've got Tiago Pinto and we've also got Simon Francis, the legend at this football club, who have been bringing in young talent. They've been scouting the globe and been picking up these young talents for a lot lower, then selling them on. We know that we're probably a stepping stone club. We know that, but what we are doing is by being that stepping stone club, we are, you know, making money back, which we can then invest into more talent and gradually building the club that way. The other big thing as well to keep in mind with is our Category 1 Academy that is coming. We've got a lovely place over at Camford Magna. So yeah, a very, very, very impressive location. So yeah, we're looking forward to that.
Hello, John. How are we? You know, Bournemouth have got the foundation of what Leicester once had, where we bring in these cheap players. We had Mahrez at one point. We brought in Kante. We bring in your Madisons, your Tillemans, your players like that, you know, and then you go and sell them for big amounts of money in the end. You know, Harry Maguire, we brought in £17 million, ended up selling him for like 80 million. So Leicester was good at that, very much so. Leicester were the club that everyone looked at and thought, you know what, what Leicester's doing is incredible. Maybe we'll find that one day where you find these hidden gems and you bring these young players through. And you sort of build that format. And this is what Leicester's failed to do. We brought in Wesley Fofana for a cheap amount of money. And then we ended up selling him for like 75, 80 million quid. It's crazy. It's mad how the thing is with football, though, Craig, and I think you'd agree, you've got to keep up with the times. If you stood still, it just falls away from you quite quickly. And I think this is what Leicester's done. We've stood still, and everyone around us is moving, and they're doing it sensibly. With Leicester, I find, is we panic signings. It's not. It's more of a reactive type thing, isn't it? If they think, oh shit, we need to go and sign anyone, you look at Edouard this season for Leicester. Crystal Palace wanted rid, whatever way they could, they did, and Leicester come in, and then they sat there rubbing their hands and laughing at Leicester and thinking, nah, surely not. Surely Leicester's having a laugh here. They didn't, they spent £4.6 million in wages, bringing Edouard in. I think we spent £2.5 million of loan fee to actually bring him to the football club. So that works out to be just over £7 million, including from wages to a sort of loan fee.
Yeah.
And this is what Leicester's problem's been boiling down to: mismanagement, bad decisions, not bringing in the right players. We needed to bring in quality. We've had two managers this season, two different styles of football, and we've got a squad who just isn't good enough. So what do? Ruud van Nistelrooy, they promised him he'd be backed in January, but then they were just like, they just told him everything he wanted to hear and then never backed him. So it's like, what do you do?
Yeah, I completely agree. To be honest,
would have stayed up. I don't think we would have, mate. I think we probably would have had more points, but I still think we would have gone down.
It's a difficult one, that.
Hindsight, isn't it?
Yeah, Steve Cooper did a very, very good job at Nottingham Forest, and I think what he did was he managed to galvanise that team, especially considering that they signed so many players as well. That could not have been easy. That could not have been easy. With a smaller pool of players, I think it would have been a lot easier for Forest, a more targeted approach. Leicester can't really do that, and haven't been able to do that once they've been promoted. But we got to go back a couple of seasons ago to actually see exactly where Leicester's Premier League status has kind of gone downhill. Because you were in such a great position, under Claudio Ranieri and then Craig Shakespeare, God rest his soul. The club were always doing things sensibly. They were bringing in, players and fitting them in the right places. And I think that it got to a point where they dipped off and panicked. Like you say, panic signings. They started making signings that didn't really make sense, that didn't gel, that didn't connect together. It is a case. It's a bit like a jigsaw, to be honest, building a football team, Jack, in my honest opinion. And that's what Andoni Iraola has done very, very well. He's got those pieces of the jigsaw. He's told Frano and Pinto exactly what he wants and what he wants to put together, and he's gone and done that. Whereas Brendan Rodgers didn't really do that. And of course, relegation did happen. I did think you was going to have a better season than you have done. And the reason being is that momentum, from being promoted. Okay, the end of the championship season is, I do keep close tabs on Leicester, didn't go particularly well. You should have, won the title well in advance of when you actually did. But gradually, it kind of was whittled away. But winning the title should have lifted the whole place. And it hasn't. Steve Cooper, I think, was going to do a good job. I honestly think he might have got you over the line. It would have been close. But it was always going to be very, very difficult. There is such a disparity with regards to the Premier League and the Championship nowadays, and it's wrong, because I can see the same the three that have come up this season will be the three that will go straight back down. One of them is managed by Scott Parker, who can't manage in the Premier League.
No.
Sorry, Burnley fans. So they're going straight back down. No questions asked. Sunderland are going to have to spend a lot of money if they want to stay up. The only one, unfortunately, I know that they're not very popular with Leicester fans, as they aren't popular with Bournemouth fans, is Leeds United. I think they're the only ones that you could say might actually make a fist of it. But you look at the teams that are down the very, very bottom, just above the drop zone, it's Manchester United and Spurs. Now
Mm.
they're going to, Manchester United are an absolute basket case. But you would think that Jim Ratcliffe, I should say, is going to spend some money to actually try and get them back to where they are. Money isn't the solution to everything,
No.
as Leicester have found, as many teams have found throughout the years. A lot of teams have come into the Premier League, spent a load of money, gone straight back down, and then found themselves in turmoil. So there is that danger, that there is that danger. But I think there's such a disparity that clubs have to spend ridiculous amounts to actually try and bridge the gap,
Yeah.
and risk PSR rules. It's all wrong, Jack. It's all wrong, and it is becoming a bit of a closed shop.
This pair we've got, Top and Rudkin, won't sign a top manager with ambition. They've lost all credibility with false promises. See, this is the issue with Leicester's board. It's gone stale. It has. The
Yeah.
problems are mounting because of the people at the top. These problems of cracks have been showing for a while. We've just sort of looked at the problems and swept them under the carpet like everything's fine. And, these people are not being held accountable for the mess that they've got Leicester City in, the amount of money we've lost, the amount of bad decisions that have happened at the football club. And why are we in this situation?
Yeah.
What is happening at this football club? What is the future? What is the plan? There isn't one, and
No.
you're talking about a club who should be planning for the Championship, but have not even started. Southampton have already started by getting Will Stilling, so that shows that they're ready, preparing, and then they'll go and prepare players. Leicester are not even near that. We're at this sort of point now where Van Nistelrooy is going to lose his job after the Bournemouth game. It has been said in the media, obviously. They're all saying about Russell Martin, but it's not one that I'd want. I'd run away far from it, if I'm honest. But then this shows the lack of thought process with the club. They've not. Mm-hmm. They've physically gone for a name over them actually thinking, we could go for someone else. Go and thoroughly look what you can have.
Yeah.
They just thought, nah. He got Southampton up from the Championship. That Southampton side should have been going up that season, by the way, because of the players that they had.
Yeah.
But his football is atrocious. I don't even know why we're sort of been thinking, Russell Martin's going to be better than Ruud van Nistelrooy. He's not. If you had the choice now of keeping Ruud or hiring Russell Martin, if you had that situation at Bournemouth, you'd say, we keep Ruud van Nistelrooy because, it's not going to cost us any money to keep him. And Russell Martin is no better in Ruud van Nistelrooy at all. It's not a better replacement.
I've got to be honest, Jack. I completely agree with you on every single point. I do not rate Russell Martin.
No.
I think his football, like you say, is atrocious. When he did come up, with Southampton, I think he played the blinder in the playoff final. I've got to say that. He did play a blinder in the playoff final. But at the same time, the performances when he got here were turgid. And it was a case of that they weren't having shots on target. They weren't doing that. And then I can't even remember what the guy's name was who took over. He was that poor, and they just got another terrible manager in. Russell Martin is not the solution for Leicester City. I can say that 100%.
Was it Ivan Juric they brought in?
Yeah, Juric, that's him. He was shite.
He was already down. If they'd have kept Russell Martin, I think they'd have still finished less than Derby's points record.
honestly, I think Juric was terrible. He was absolutely appalling.
And if we
Um,
hire him, it really sums up the club because
mm,
this is just bad sort of decision after bad decision with Leicester. There's just no vision, no
yeah,
like. Here's what the future planning is. You know, you should know what your plan is. So, say you
mm,
give a 5-year plan, you
yeah,
should know what your starting plan is and what your end plan is to get there. And you've
yeah,
got to know in between how do you get to step 5. This is what Leicester don't know what that is happening. There's no communication to the
mm,
fans. There's no communication to Ruud van Nistelrooy, which I find is disrespectful. The way he's found out about his job and his
100%.
future, and it's just like, well, if that's how they want to do things, then that's up to them if they want to handle it that way. But he shouldn't be thinking that way. You know, no manager should go through what Van Nistelrooy is. Yes, he's been shit this season. No word of a
Mm,
lie. He's not done anything to keep his job at Leicester. But to find out by the media and that they're getting rid of you after this game and you're not going to be here no longer, it's disrespectful. You know, he deserves better
yeah.
than that.
Oh, 100%. And it's shambolic from top. It really is
It
shambolic
is.
from top. And the people around him. I think honestly,
Director of football is awful.
yeah, Rudkin, isn't it?
He needs a proper football advisor, someone who knows how
Yes.
to help him and move the club forward in a positive way. Keeping John Rudkin, it's gone
Mhm.
stale. They're just best mates, so it's like, yeah, I can't sack him. Well, it's not on the point of sacking him. Move him elsewhere and bring in someone who can do the actual job that he's being paid to do.
See, this is what we've got at Bournemouth. We have got a plan. We've got
Yeah,
this 5-year plan. We've got how we're going to get there.
you're
Who's
doing
going to
what
do
we
what?
ain't.
We are, we're planning.
Mm,
Whereas Leicester is shambolic. Leicester, to be perfectly honest, regardless of what the EFL do, and I think the EFL are going to shaft you to a
maybe
certain
I'll
extent.
yeah.
They are going to do something. They've just been waiting in the wings, haven't they? Really,
They're
praying
waiting
that
they're
Leicester
waiting
come
for
to
the
them.
Premier League now.
Yeah,
It's
they
it's
are
it's
literally.
bad. It's got to. You know what? If you looked at Leicester for what
Mm,
we've done in 10 years, but then if you look at the last 3-4 years, 2 relegations in 3 seasons,
mm,
it's bad. And then how the club's going in sort of communication wise and that, and they're very much radio silence. It's
oh,
the
100%.
Premier League very much can't wait because this is the first time Leicester City have been charged by the Premier League, by the way. Last time it was just accusations, we got out of
Mm,
it. And then the Premier League thought, you know what, Leicester, we're going to go to a higher sort of independent panel here. And they
yeah.
turned around and said to the Premier League, well, we kind of made a mistake here. Maybe we
Mm,
should have charged Leicester. But then the Premier League are going to look into it now, aren't they? They're going to do whatever they can because they were never going to leave it from when we beat them
yeah.
the first time. And then the EFL are like, well, this is what we're going to do now, Leicester. We're going to sit and wait to see what the Prem are doing because last year you was in our league in 23-24.
Mm,
So you can't go because now they've become aligned, aren't they, Craig? The Premier League and the Championship now, aren't they? Well, the
yes.
EFL to closing the loopholes and sort of saying, well, we don't care what league you're in. We can do
Yeah.
you whether you're in the Prem or the EFL now. So good on you, Leicester. You can't use that excuse again. You can't get away from us and you got nowhere to hide now. So we're going to punish you.
But regardless of the points deduction, Leicester should be up there next season. If they play their cards right and plan now, they
Yeah,
should be up the top of the league because they are a big club. They've got money. They have got that pulling power that some other sides,
I
let's be
keep
honest.
on it.
If you've got a player, who gets an option of either Bristol City or Leicester City, he's going to go to Leicester all day long, or
Yeah,
should do. The problem is they haven't planned at all. And
no,
Ruud van Nistelrooy, as much as it is his failings, as much as he hasn't got the adaptability, it is a bad way for him to find out. Should he lose his job? You could say he's probably not up to the level at this moment in time. He might get there as a manager, but great players don't always
massive
make great
gamble.
managers.
Mm,
You look at Tony Adams. Tony Adams didn't have a Scooby Doo what he was doing in management. Gary Neville, He might be able to talk on Sky Sports, but he did not have a clue what he was doing in management. Whereas you've got somebody like Jose Mourinho, who was a physio, who got his chance
Barcelona,
from Bobby Robson and
crazy, isn't it?
managed to get, what he has. Eddie Howe. Now, Eddie Howe, we knew was a great player, but very, very injury prone. That's why he didn't play at a higher level.
Pretty
What
learned.
did he do? He went, he learned on the job. He wanted to stay in football. He was learning whilst he was injured,
Mm.
and then has become the manager he has today. Whereas the best example of all is Wayne Rooney. Let's be
Well,
honest, Wayne
yeah,
Rooney
we
is an
can't disagree on
absolute
that.
joke. He's relegated 3 teams now from the championship. Okay, Derby, they might say, well, wasn't really his fault, but still, he did have some talented players in that squad.
Mm.
So honestly, what I think Leicester need to do is go to a proven manager in the Championship. They shouldn't be doing it through the press. They should be doing it through Rude first. Rude should be the first person to find out, and then maybe even move him sidewards. Say, look, learn your trade. Learn your trade. That would probably be the fairest thing to do by Rude Van Nistelrooy. It's not, sack him, push him out the door. Actually, help him along. Get somebody who is a proven manager in to actually, assist and manage the club, which then, you know, in 5 6 years he may be ready to make this step. A couple of games, and to be honest, he did actually manage Manchester United during their only decent spell this season.
Mm.
I don't know how he did it, to be perfectly honest. I don't think he knows how he did it. But to be honest, I can't even remember who they were playing during that spell. Were they play they did play yourselves, didn't they?
Oh well, they had to beat us 4 times this season. The rest is bloody history. Can say the
Yeah, but
but
it's of what
ah,
they need to do is they need to find a proven Premier League manager, a Championship manager who will get the club out. Not Russell Martin. Russell Martin is useless. He's got lucky at Southampton with a very talented squad.
you need a manager who can manage in the Championship, but can also manage in the
Mm,
Prem. But every
exactly.
every manager's stubborn though, aren't they? When one approach works, they're thinking, "Now we don't have to change this." And this with Russell Martin at Southampton, it worked in the Championship, and then he
Mhm,
thought, "Yeah, I don't have to do anything in the Premier." He were Enzo Maresca's style of football, but to the extreme of it. Do you get what I mean? He was proper defensive. He'd
mhm.
play the fullbacks and play out to the fullbacks, and they'd get sort of stuck. And then when they're losing, it's like, "What's the plan, Russell?" And he'd play the
Yeah.
same way, and it's like, is there any change? He's like, yeah, well, I don't know what to do. See, you're scratching your head. I'm not being funny. As a manager, you should have another plan.
Oh,
In the Premier
100%.
League, you've got to have your game plan, what you've gone with, and then you've also got to have a second plan to think, you know what, if that one, the first one ain't working, where's the second? It's all about planning ahead with Leicester.
Mm,
This club won't plan. We'll bring the youngsters in next season in the Championship, like Jeremy Monga, Jake Evans,
yes.
Michael Golding, Will Alves, Ben Nelson, and them types of players. We'll bring them through, but then you've got to obviously look at who's going to be leaving. So you probably look at your Hermansons, El Canuses, Wilfred Ndidis,
Yes.
people who can get you money. Because Leicester's biggest issue is, Craig, we
Hmm.
hand out Champions League wages to bang average players.
Yeah.
And this is our problem. We're overpaying in wages
Mhm.
for these players. This is why they want to come here. It's like Vestergaard. He should be nowhere near 70 grand a week, but he
Well,
is.
I tell you what, this is I'm not wanting to self promote,
Poor
but
decision.
as you may know, I was born and bred in Reading years ago,
Mm.
and a family of Reading fans,
Evening,
and
Rick.
I spoke to Rob Couhig, who's
I
just
agree
taken
on
over.
to.
He's just taken over. He was the chairman of Wycombe Wanderers, and Reading were a big case
Yeah.
of play a club spending ridiculous amounts of money on
Mm.
players that they couldn't afford. Um, Luckily now they've got a very, very sensible chairman who has got an investor, believe it or not, by the looks of things. And of course, I haven't spoken to him about this, so I don't know how true it is. But there's pictures of the guy actually sat there at their stadium. You know what Leicester need to do is they need to sift out all the crap. All the really high earners, all the
Yeah.
players that have let them down, and
Mm,
they need to rebuild with a talented squad of youngsters who
yeah.
might be, untested, in the top flight, but players that who you want to give a chance, who are hungry enough to make their name. They might not be the most exciting names. You might look at, the list of them and go, wow, I've never heard of this guy, never heard of this one. But that is what you need to do rather than like what Reading have done, what Portsmouth have done, what Wigan have done, spend a load of bloody money on a load of big names and then it just go flat. But my tip, my honest tip for the manager, and it might take a bit to actually tempt him back
Go
to
on.
the English game. Carlos Corberán, of course, he's at
We
Valencia.
was we was after him before, but then we won't pay the £4 million to West Brom to bring him in.
He's a very very nice man. I've spoken to him as well myself personally, and he's a very 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 nice man, very driven. So I'm hoping, he'll get a chance back in English football at
Mm.
some point, and Leicester might be a perfect club to do that with. But what I would say to Leicester fans for next season is don't be worried if the club starts sifting out the rubbish and start bringing in youngsters, because that's probably what you want.
I would take El Canoes. I think every bloody manager and bloody would, to be
Mm,
honest, Rich. The thing is, Leicester going forward need to realise what style of football do you want? So you then look at the managers who suit that style of football, and
yeah.
then you've got to find the right manager who fits the current mold of squad, like the youngsters that you've got, your Mongers, your Fatawus, your Ben Nelsons, and that, who
Hmm.
can come in and suit a style of football that suits everybody,
Yeah.
which works. Look what Ariola's done at Bournemouth. He's come in. This is the style of football. Can you
Yes.
guys get on board with it? We'll test it, and it worked. This is what Leicester need to do. But Leicester seem to just go for a manager because of anything. We've gone from Enzo Ball to Steve Cooper Ball, two different logics, by the way.
Mm,
And then you've gone to Ruud van Nistelrooy's style of football. And it's like, what style of football do you actually want to approach with? What can the players get on board with and what works with this squad? And it looked like nothing worked. Enzo's style of football were working fantastically in the Championship.
yeah.
Would he have kept us up in the Prem? Is another situation to discuss if it could have happened, but I'm not sure. Armchair goes on to say Valencia paid £2 million for him. He is looking to take Jamie Vardy.
Mm,
Obviously, Jamie Vardy left Leicester City
yes.
after his final game. A real, let's call it Hollywood moment. Take out the relegation because we don't
Mm,
think about the relegation. It didn't end the way he wanted to with
yeah.
obviously the relegation scenario. But if you look at his career, 13 years, 200 goals, 500 appearances, 13 years to the day he signed, he scored that 200th goal for the football club.
Hmm.
A fairy tale way to go out the football club.
Yes.
It's crazy. My question to you is, Craig,
Hmm.
Jamie Vardy's looking for a Premier League club for next season potentially. Would you take him at Bournemouth?
I would do. I would do.
Okay,
As
go on.
backup, as backup, of course, you can't have him running around, for 90 minutes.
No,
But, for an impact sub, for the last 15 minutes, Jamie Vardy, who is clinical, I would take him here. Regardless of where he goes, I think everybody in football, apart from Wayne and Colleen Rooney, wish him all the very, very best. But I think, to be honest, I made that. To be honest, I made that joke the other day, and I nearly choked Chris, so I nearly killed him, unfortunately. But luckily, he's all right. Luckily, he's all right. But yeah, to be honest, I would bring him here all day long. He is he is a model professional. He has got that arrogance about him, but to be
he's a,
honest,
he's a shit house. and
He
everyone
is,
got him.
yeah, but I like those players. One of
Yeah,
my favourite players growing up was Duncan Ferguson. He
yeah.
was hardcore. He didn't mess around. He was the strangler. Who was it that he had his hand? I'm sure it was a Leicester player as well. He had his hands. There's a famous picture where he's got the hands round his throat.
I can't remember his name.
Yeah,
He's a
I'm
ginger,
sure somebody.
long-haired bloke.
Yeah, I'm sure
Oh,
somebody will say
I,
in the
I
chat.
can I can picture him.
But those sort of players, Jamie Vardy is a blast back to that, but not on that sort of level. If you understand where I'm coming from, I
Yeah,
like his style. He's a model professional. He gives his all for Leicester City. You know,
Stefan
and
Fro.
yes, that's him.
Stefan
That's
Fro.
him. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
Stefan was scared of him for the rest of that match, wasn't he?
yeah, I think that's
Or
how
did
you
he get
pronounce
sent
his name.
off?
Is it
Actually,
Stefan Fro?
yes, yeah, I remember him. Yeah, I remember him, Stefan.
Stefan
Yeah,
Fro.
I'm sure. Did
That's
did
nice joke.
Duncan get sent off after that as
Yeah,
well? I'm
he got
sure he
sent
did.
off.
Yeah, I thought he did. I thought he did. Yeah, to be honest, strangling your opponent isn't really allowed, is it?
No, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Craig, let's get on to Bournemouth Leicester.
Yes.
What? Let's get into some stats. Actually, let me
Hmm.
share my screen with you.
Yeah,
Uh,
go for it, mate. Go
we'll,
for it.
we'll look at the stats because that's what I like to look at. Match facts. Bournemouth are unbeaten in all 6 of their Premier League home games against Leicester. Winning
Yes.
4, drawing 2, winning the last 3 by an aggregate score of 10-4. Leicester's first Premier League win of the season came in the reverse fixture as they could do the league double over the Cherries for the first time since 2013-2014 Championship
Yes.
campaign. Bournemouth, after going 5 games unbeaten, Bournemouth have lost their last 2. They could
Yep.
lose their last 3 league matches of the season for a second year in a row. The Cherries have lost 5 of their past 7 home league fixtures, scoring just 4 times. Only relegated Ipswich have lost more home games since the start of Feb. Bournemouth have scored 23 goals at home in the Premier League this season as opposed to 35 away. So it seems like you've got very much strong figure away than you have at home. They
Hmm.
have scored 13 goals via substitutions in the Premier League this season, second only to Fulham. I mean, how did Bournemouth approach this game against Leicester, Craig?
I think we have to play it the same way as we have done throughout the whole season, which is just keep pressing high, keep
Yeah,
going for the juggler. I think we will, do that. I think we will do that. Put lots of pressure on. Um, I don't think we should be scared at all. I think we just got to go for it. I know I said it's a dead rubber. There's not. It's not really. The fact is, we could, we could move up into the top half, which we have to. To be honest, it's such a shame if we finish in the bottom half this season. So yeah, I think let's. This is a game that we need to really, try and push ourselves across the line to get into that top half. But we have been very successful against Leicester, apart from, of course, that FA Cup game a couple of years back.
yeah. What a great goal by Fatawu. We sort
Yes,
of made a lot of
unfortunately.
changes. You lot sort of had a Premier League team out then. And I thought, you know what? I'll go 1-0. We did. We took it to extra time. Fatawu scored the absolute belter. Last time we won at your place was 2014 when Kevin Phillips scored.
Hmm.
Some would say it wasn't over the line from a Bournemouth perspective, but who knows? But we took it anyway. This is a game which, again, Leicester can build on.
Yes.
Obviously, we go into this game with a bit of relegation form, should we call it, of winning Southampton, beating Ipswich, drawing Forest. So since we've been relegated, we've obviously won a few games. We've got, 7 points?
Hmm.
So that's obviously down to no pressure being on the players. Players actually wanting to be sold, let's be honest. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing really to read into regarding beating Southampton, and that is there, to be honest.
No.
We're already down. It's not going to make a difference. You know, it's always good to score goals, which we've obviously failed to on a number of occasions this season. It's always good to win. I forgot how to bloody win and celebrate goals this season when we didn't score at home. But yeah, this one's a tough game. Obviously, I'd love to say Leicester's going to do the double over you. Obviously, last time at the King Power Stadium, we beat you 1-0. Facundo BOURNEMOUTH scored for Leicester. And yeah, I think it was Ed Milson got the offside goal with VAR. Bournemouth absolutely battered us in that second half, by the way. And then we kind of thought, can we hold on here? Can we hold on? And then you scored VAR, and I thought, oh, here we go. If Bournemouth get this, they're going to go on and win it, aren't they? But we stood strong. I think that was our best performance of the season defensively, if I'm honest. But this one's a tough game. It's not all happy hunting ground. It's a bloody bogey ground. I'm hoping we can actually get something out of this game and actually get that bloody bad sort of sense out of the way coming here. I'm expecting a good game. I think we'll see like the likes of Monga. I think obviously Jamie Vardy will not be playing this game. Obviously, I think he's out on holiday somewhere. So I think it'll be either Patson Daka or he'll stick bloody Jordan Ayew up front. I'd love to sort of see the youngsters being played in this game. Give them a chance to Michael Goldings and that. But I think Rude will stick sort of with the same team. I know Ricardo's fit ahead of this one. Let's have a look at Leicester's stats. So Leicester have gone 3 league games unbeaten, their best run of the season. Fantastic. That's what I like to hear. They have won 2 of their last 3 Premier League matches, as many as they had in their previous 26. That's also good stuff. The Foxes have also scored 6 goals across their last 3 fixtures, as many in their previous 19, which shows how piss poor we've been, Craig, in front of goal. They are the only team in top flight not to have kept an away clean sheet in 24-25. So we've not kept a clean sheet all season. Leicester have won their Premier League game of the season on the past 2 occasions, beating Southampton in 21-22 and West Ham in 22-23. So this one's an interesting one, like at the bottom. I've won their Premier League game of the season on the past 2 occasions. I think it's the last game of the season. So we've won our last 2, which is also good to read. I think it's our last 2 Premier League matches we've won. So that's something to obviously build on going on to this, that we can keep that run going, last game of the season. But Vardy could be at the stadium, his next club tomorrow, probably could.
I don't think he should be. I think he should be with Dean Court, with the rest of the players.
That's what we thought, but obviously it's something.
Yeah, it's a real shame if he is.
Potentially could loan Evan Nilsson. Think Enes Unal starts up top for Bournemouth most weeks now, so he might need a loan for confidence in minutes.
No, that's the other way round. Evan Nilsson is our number 1 striker. You know, Enes Unal has been injured for some time, so yeah, Evan Nilsson is our main goal scorer. With regards to the other comment as well, Julio Sola, actually quite interesting. I spoke to the Argentine Martin Tyler, really. You know, he's the top commentator in Argentina, and he reckons Julio Sola is going to be better than Milos Kerkez, of course, a left back. That shows what our recruitment has been like. So it's been very, very, very impressive. So yeah, I think what we're going to do, we are probably, you know, of course, Lewis Cook won't be playing in this game. He was sent off for what was probably a little bit of a reckless tackle against Manchester City. But you know, I think what we'll do is we'll play a mixture of the players that have served us so well, and also, you know, maybe get some players in, you know, for a bit of experience. We should expect to see Julio Sola. You know, we should expect to see some of the youngsters and the fringe players, and it would be great to see that. So, but I think Evan Nilsson will be starting up front, maybe with Jefferson coming on a little bit later on.
So yeah, last Premier League head-to-head, played 6, 4 wins to you lot, 2 draws. I mean, I remember Jamie Vardy's penalty
Yeah.
at what would have been called Dean Court back then.
Oh, it's still called Dean Court, Jack.
Yeah. Last time out at the Vitality in the Premier League was 2-1.
Yes.
Jesus Christ. That game should have been 3 or 4 to Bournemouth, if I'm honest. First off, Patson Daka scored. And we're
Yes.
thinking, okay, then I think Billing scored for you lot in the second half. I forgot who scored the second one. Was it Kiefer Moore, was it?
Oh, that's a good question. Was it Dom or was it Kiefer? It might have been Kiefer, actually. Yes, I think you might be right,
We
actually.
absolutely battered us that second half. We got rinsed, and that was probably one of our worst performances away that season, par the Brighton and Spurs one, because that was when the fans wanted Rodgers out, and Brendan come under a lot of pressure after that game. And yeah, it was crazy.
Ryan Christie, it's
Ryan
was who
Christie.
scored.
They were one
Yes.
of them.
How did I forget that? How did I forget that? But yeah, Ryan Christie, Mickey Cave, Daily Echo, player of the season. So yeah, of course he is out at the moment. I think him being out has been a cause of a lot of our problems, actually, because he's the heartbeat of this football club. He really is. When he's not playing, you know, like Wilby says there, when he's not playing, we don't seem to play as effectively. It's a bit strange because, he isn't one of those marquee players, but he is a tough player. He's imperative to this football club. He's one of those. He's one of those that you can't really take out the side because he is so important.
Manish, it's not about how much possession you have, mate. Possession doesn't win you games in football, my friend. It's what you score in the opponent's net that matters
Yes.
to winning games. Possession don't win you any games. You can have a 99% possession. That other opponent can have 1% possession and win the game 1-0. This is how boring Russell Martin's football was at Southampton. They never looked like attacking. They never looked like scoring. So it's a problem in the Premier League itself. Obviously, you'd have watched Southampton this season.
Yeah.
Greg.
I've got a really, really good friend who's a Southampton fan, and both under Russell Martin, Jurich, she was pulling her hair out, and it was just like they don't have shots on target. They just don't do it.
Really, very irritating.
And it's only till recently when they've got caretaker managers in charge,
Yeah.
that they're actually doing something. They're having a go. They're being a little bit bold. It's a little bit too late. And in fact, their draw against Man City was a well managed game, really. Which I think if Russell Martin or Ivan Juric had been in charge of that game, it probably could have been 9-0.
I mean, they've done that a few times, haven't they?
Yeah.
Starting 11.
Oof.
Where do you go with that? I know you've talked about fringe players and any players saying goodbye to the football club. I mean, what do you reckon? I mean,
Oh, this is going to be difficult because I'm going to have to pull up the lineup against Man City I know it, but just to try and work out where we're going to put them in.
okay.
Um, I think we'll play Kepa in goal because it'll be his last game for the football club.
Are you not buying him?
I don't think so, unless Iriola's got other plans.
Yes.
I think Kirkes will play his last game at the football club. Howson's an interesting one. I think Howson, which would be a real shame, might be suspended for this match. I was reading that earlier on, and that would be a crying shame. But let's say he's not suspended, because if he's not suspended, he's going to play his last game at AFC Bournemouth. But he was in Madrid. This pissed me off. He was in Madrid signing the forms on Friday. Which, to be honest, couldn't have that waited till Monday? That could have waited till Monday, Tuesday.
You look at what
Monday's not bank holiday.
today in the playoffs. Scored the goal and he's already signed for Brighton.
It's just ridiculous. It's stupid. It should not happen. I think Zabanier will play. And that right back position, Arejo, he's a very, very pacey right back, but I think he's still got a lot to learn. I think we'll probably go with Adam Smith.
Okay.
Now, this is where it gets interesting because, of course, Lewis Cook is out for this match.
Red
So,
card.
yeah, I'm wondering what we're going to do, and this is a difficult one for me. I think. I think that Tyler Adams will definitely play.
Okay.
Tyler Adams will definitely play in this match. Um, oh, now the other thing we could do is bring in a youngster in this position, but in that defensive midfielder position
Yeah.
is going to be difficult. However, I'm going to go with it, and I'm going to put Matai Akinboni in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to put him where Lewis Cook was. So he's in a midfield defensive position there. With regards to moving forwards, I think we're going to make some changes as well there. Semenyo hasn't been himself, wasn't particularly very good the other day. So I'm trying to mix it up. And you can tell what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to mix it up. I am going to go with, but then again, Tavernier wasn't really that effective. So I'm going to go with David Brooks on the right-hand side of
Yeah.
midfield, if that's attacking. I think Justin Kluivert in the centre. And
Appreciate
I'm
it, thank you, mate. Thanks for watching.
thinking as well, I am going to put Zane Silcott Duberry over that left-hand side.
Okay.
Watara, for some reason, has been frozen out of the side, and I think that's because he's demanding that he plays every single game. That is the rumor that's been going around. It's very, very weird why he's been frozen out since after the Arsenal game, which he did have a really good game in. So that's a real shame. And I think Evan Nilsson up front.
Okay.
But yeah, a very, very different side there. Adam Smith comes in. Of course, we need to find out about Howson. Probably, if Howson's out,
Yeah.
probably put Senesi in. Zabanier would definitely play. Akinboni for Lewis Cook to give him some minutes. I think David Brooks on the right hand side. Like I say, Zane Silcott Duberry on the left hand side, Kluivert, and then Evan Nilsson up front. But who knows? It's the last game of the season.
It
He's
is.
going to want to mix it up. And I would not be surprised that the likes of Ben Winterburn, Julio Sola, Daniel Jefferson will get a game. Can't see Will Dennis getting the match. I think, of course, he is the backup goalkeeper. Mark Travers will be back at the end of this season. He is my number one in my mind. The thing is he is not a player that plays out from the back. So, yeah, I'm going to go with that. And hopefully these youngsters will actually surprise us as well.
Appreciate it, Scott. Are you going tomorrow, Craig, by the way?
I certainly am. Yeah, I go to all the games, at home. So, yeah, I shall be there unless I'm flying around the world.
Lovely. Leicester's team. Jeez, I don't think he'll make many changes to this Leicester team. Stolasic in goal, he'll go with. I think he'll stick with the same back four as what played against Ipswich. I'd like to see a Coley in there, but I think he'll stick with Wout Faes or Connor Cody. Midfield, I think he'll stick with Samare and Ndidi. Winging position is going to be interesting because he's gone with Jordan Ayew, McAteer. I think he could sort of throw a curveball in here. Mm-hmm. I think he'll stick with El Kanous as a centre attacking mid. And then out left, I think he might go with McAteer. But then I'm hoping he starts with Monga tomorrow. I hope he starts it, but I can see him pretty D Cordova reading. It's not the way I'd go. I think up front, he's going to go with Jordan Ayew or Patson Daka. I think that's the way he goes with it. I'd like to see Jake Evans. I'd like to see him give the youngsters a run out like you, Michael Goldings, like midfield instead of like a Samare. But I'm not really sure. I mean, I'd like to see Facundo Buonanotte be given a chance tomorrow. Say more down the middle. Obviously, Monga's a centre attacking mid as well. So maybe you could put El Canoes out right and then put Buonanotte, Monga, Patson Daka or Ayew. Hope Monga does start. If he scores, he'll make history for becoming the youngest ever player in Premier League history to score. Hopefully, we'll see the youngsters scoring a game. Yep. The last one, Craig, score prediction.
I was criticised for this the other day. I'm going to go for a 1-1. I'm going to go for a 1-1. The main reason.
I'd say that myself personally, but I've got something else in mind.
It's kind of burnt out the season now. The players, it's been a long year. Semenyo might not have been his greatest recently, but the thing is, unfortunately, Europe's now a distant dream. So yeah, I'm going to go for a 1-1. An unfortunate end of season game.
I tell you what, I'm going to go with Leicester to win their first ever Premier League game at the Vitality. I think it won't be pretty, but I think we'll just get it over the line with. I'm going to go 2-1, both teams to score. I'm going to go with El Canoes to get one. And tell you what, we'll stick Jordan Ayew in there. We'll go with Ayew. Front three behind Ayew would be McAteer, Buonanotte, El Canoes for me. Bring Daka on with 20 minutes to go. 0-0 snooze fest. Probably will. You're probably not wrong. 2-1 Leicester. Monga to score the winner. Yeah, what a way that would be. That shot against Nottingham Forest nearly found the back of the net from distance where he bended it in the top corner. But Craig, thanks for coming on, mate. Appreciate it.
Not a problem at all, Jack. My pleasure.
If you're anywhere near the ground tomorrow, I'll be sure to have a chat with you pre-match if you're up for that.
Yes, definitely, mate. Definitely.
So I'll have to message you and then see where we can meet up before the game if you're good with that. And then
that sounds good.
Craig, thanks for coming on, mate. Before I let you go, be sure to plug your channel for me. Let everybody know where they can find you, mate, and what you do regarding Bournemouth.
Yeah, no problem. So the channel is called UTC IAD, Up the Cherries in All Departments. So we do our weekly cherry picking show, which will be going on throughout the summer in some format. Of course, it depends on how much news is coming out. But we've also got loads of other stuff as well. Got loads of interviews, some famous Leicester fans, some famous fans of other clubs as well. Had the likes of Richie Neville from Five. We've also had Gaz Whelan from the Happy Mondays, Rich Archer from Hardfi. You name it. I could name them all, but please do go check it out. Fantastic. Cheers, Craig. And maybe I'll see you tomorrow, mate. Cheers, pal. Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. Thanks, Jack. That was Craig from the Up the Cherries in All Departments. Great guest, great analysing regarding the opposition, and of course having a good chat about Leicester City, as that's been the bloody main topic this week regarding Ruud van Nistelrooy's future and that. Ruud van Nistelrooy's final game in charge then with a question mark, is his future is very much left on a cold shoulder moment at the football club. Let's see what happens regarding that. Obviously, Ruud van Nistelrooy to leave Leicester City. I covered it this week. So, yeah, go and check that out as well. If you've enjoyed this stream, hit the like button for me. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and you haven't subscribed already. Please get down and do so. If you're watching this on Playback, let me know your thoughts on what we've all discussed in this show. Let me know your score prediction as well. Thanks for watching. Take care. There'll be a match day vlog out tomorrow as I'll be travelling to the Vitality for the game. So, be sure to shout out as well. If you come and see me, come and say hello. Come and give me a score prediction. And, last game of the season then. Let's get that out of the way. It's been a bloody onking season. And let's just finish it off, shall we? On a high. See you soon. And bye-bye for now. Hi all. Thank you for watching The Final Whistle. If you enjoy all our content, please remember to smash a like, share, and subscribe to the channel.